Yo, what's going on YouTube? My name is Louie and welcome back to the channel. It's the start of a new week, and because of that, another tournament has concluded. This past weekend was Greensboro Regionals, which was played in the expanded format. This tournament came on the heels of Toronto Regionals, and people came prepared to fight the big decks from that tournament. So we saw less Night March and less Trevenant at Greensboro, but we got more ARCHIESTOISE because of it. Before we get into today's deck showcase, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload. Today's deck showcase is Azul GG's ARCHIESTOISE from Greensboro Regionals 2019, in which he got second place, in which he had a phenomenal win in top 8 by taking 6 prizes in one turn. It's truly something you guys need to actually see if you haven't already. I'll try to have it linked down in the description below, but no promises, but you know, look for it. It's out there. I know for sure it's out there. So getting into the deck, we're going to be taking a look at Blastoise here. We're playing 2 copies of Blastoise. No Wartortle, no Squirtle, of course. If you guys have not seen an Archie's deck before, you guys will kind of understand how this works a little bit later on. Here for the ability Deluge, as often as you like during your turn. Before you attack, you may attach a water energy from your card, your hand, to one of your Pokemon. You can do this as many times as you'd like, as long as you have the energies to attach to wherever you want. You can attack with this if you like, but to be honest, you're not really going to. Weak to grass and a heavy for retreat cost. Now, because this one's pretty much going to be putting the energy wherever we want, we have an array of different Pokemon that we can use to attack. Going into Kingdra GX, works very, very similar to Blastoise, where we don't run Kingdra or Seadra and Horsey. Kingdra GX is a stage 2, and we'll talk about how we get into it with Archie a little bit later. 230 HP, water typing, Hydro Pump for 1 colorless, does 10 plus. This attack does 50 more damage times the amount of water energy attached to this Pokemon. So it works very, very similar like Keldeo EX and Palkia GX in the past. And it's going to be hitting quite big numbers depending on however many energies are on this, so you get to pretty much modify the damage any way you like. Reverse Threat, Thrust, not really going to talk about it. Maelstrom GX, not really going to talk about it. Not really necessary. You're here to hit big numbers and knocking things out. Weak to Grass, no resistance, and a 2 retreat cost. Going into more attackers, we have Volcanion Prism Star, 160 HP, has the ability Jet Geyser. During your turn, you may discard a water energy card from your hand. If you do, your opponent switches their active with one of their benched, and you can only do this once per turn. Sauna Blast is the attack for 3 water energy, does 100 to the active. However, this attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so a little bit of chip damage here and there. And if your opponent has like some weak Pokemon on the bench, you know, it starts to soften them up a little bit more. They probably won't want to put them up, put them in the active or anything like that. Weak to Lightning type, however, Pikachu Zekrom did show up quite a bit. Didn't really do too much, but did show up quite a bit this weekend. So Volcanion is weak to Lightning type, has a retreat cost of 3. Then we're going into, this is probably the MVP of like Azul's like run, just because of what he did with it. Magikarp and Wailord GX, 300 HP, water typing, Super Splash for 5 water energies, does 180 damage. Towering Splash GX for 1 water energy plus, does 10 base damage. However, because of the plus, if you meet the requirements in the card's text, you can do something else. So let's read what this does. If this Pokemon has at least 7 extra water energies attached to it, in addition to the cost of this Pokemon attack cost, meaning if he has 8 energies in total, does 100 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance. This right here is exactly how Azul got 6 prize cards in one turn. He was playing off in top 8. He was playing off against like a Zoroark deck, and his opponent had a bunch of. He had a Skyfiel and had a bunch of Pokemon on the bench that did not have more than 100 HP. He had like a Zoroark from Breakpoint that had 100 HP. He had an Oricorio, you know, a bunch of things, Azora, a bunch of things that did not have more than 100 HP, and that's a Sudowoodo, and that's how he got. That's how he got 6 prize cards in one turn. It was phenomenal. You guys have to watch it. Again, I'll try to link it, but this is a great card. He's only playing 1 in this deck, however, but still a great card to see in action. Then we're going into Articuno, 120 HP, water typing, actually has a Delta Plus this is kind of like an ability, but it's not, so it can't be shut down. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack of this Pokemon, take 1 extra prize card. So if you knock out something that has 1 prize card, you get 2, and you knock out something that's 2 prize cards, you get 3, so on and so forth. Chilling Sigh is the first attack for 1 water. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Second attack is Tri-Edge, 2 water, 1 colorless, does 20 plus, flips 3 coins. This attack does 40 more damage for each heads. So it's very, very RNG based. However, if you get it down, and probability states you get a couple heads at least, maybe 1, you're still dealing damage. If you're facing off against things like Night March that only has 30, 60 HP, you're going to be knocking it out really well there as well. Plus, if there's anything out there that's weak to water, Articuno will be hitting for weakness. Anyway, Steel, weakness, and a fighting resistance to retreat cost we have for Articuno. Then we have another tag team that we're playing in this deck, Eevee and Snorlax GX, 270 HP. First attack is Cheer Up. For 1 colorless, attach an energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Not going to be worrying about this too much because we have Deluge that's going to be doing that for us in the form of an ability instead of an attack. Dump Truck Press. For 4 colors, does 120 plus. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolution Pokemon, this attack does 120 more damage. So if your opponent has an evolution Pokemon, this is going to max out at 240. If you have something like a Choice Band, if that's running this deck, does 270, so you're going to be hitting that. However, you got to think about, there's big base out in the game right now. Drampa is running around. Tapu Lele, you won't be able to get the knockout on that. Pikachu Zekrom is another one too. So there's things that it won't necessarily knock out, but there's things like Zoroark that it will any day. Megaton Friends GX for 4 energy plus does 210. If this Pokemon has at least 1 extra energy attached to it in addition to this attack's cost, meaning 5 energies total, draw cards until you have 10 cards in your hand. So it's very, very similar to, well, it's similar to a bunch of different things like Shaming. You know, you draw cards until you have hands, until you have certain cards in your hand. So it works that way. But it's very, very similar in the form of like Rayquaza GX's attack and Drampa GX's attack, where you end up with 10 cards in your hand regardless of what happens. Drampa shuffle draws, Rayquaza discard draws, you know, stuff like that. Very, very similar. And the last attacker we're going to be talking about in this deck is Onix, 120 HP, fighting type. Does 4 colorless Land Crush for 120. Weak to grass, and a 4 retreat cost. Now, what's interesting about this is Pikachu Zekrom only has 240 HP. Land Crush does 120 hits for weakness. We'll be hitting 240, so we'll be getting 3 prize cards in return of this team possibly getting knocked out for just 1. So that's really cool about this Onix. Plus, it hits weakness on pretty much anything else. Your Darkrai EXs. You're not going to really see Darkrai EX, but if it does pop up, it'll hit that for weakness. Your Zoroark GXs, it'll hit that for weakness, which is pretty good. Weak to grass and 4 retreat costs, mentioned that already. And then we need a bunch of setup Pokemon to kind of get us to our Blastoise first turn. So 2 copies of Execute with the Propagation ability. Once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put this card in your hand. You can do this over and over again. It's unlimited. It's not once per turn. Well, it's once during your turn, but I mean it resets once it hits the discard pile. So you can do this however many times you want. Basically what this means is you kind of, if you have 2 of these in your discard pile, you kind of have a free Ultra Ball, a free Computer Search, a free Dowsing Machine, a free Superior Energy. You know, depends on what you're playing that requires you to discard 2 cards. If you have Execute with Propagation, you're basically doing it for free. You're basically doing it for free. Then we're playing 2 copies of a Shaman EX, 110 HP for the setup ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. So basically you want to draw cards down, you want to play your cards down and make sure you can get all possible ways to get your Blastoise out first turn. Setup lets you draw more cards to continue going off with what you're doing, which is really, really good. We want to make sure that you keep the consistency going so we can get Blastoise as soon as possible. Sky Return, if you'd like to attack with this, usually it's if this gets Guzma or Lysandered up and it gets stuck there. Sky Return for 2 colors does 30 damage. Return this Pokemon, all cards attached to this to your hand. Weak to Lightning and a minus 20 resistance on fighting Pokemon. 1 retreat cost. Then we're playing one copy of Marshadow, 70 HP with the Let Loose ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may have each player shuffle their hand into their deck and draw 4 cards. So it kind of works a little bit like a disruption deck, or disruption card. You may want to disrupt your opponent if they have a big hand. Maybe they're coming off of a big wheel GX or anything like that. Marshadow, Let Loose, make sure you change that. Basically like a built-in judge. Weak to dark and a fighting resistance, and a 1 retreat cost. And the final card that we're playing is one copy of Tapu Lele GX, 170 HP. Here for the Wonder Tag ability, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, search your deck for a supporter, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Energy Drive for 2 colors does 20 times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. With Blastoise Deluge, you can put as many energy as you like on this Tapu Lele, and it's going to be hitting really, really hard. But that's the Pokemon lineup that we have there. Going into our supporter lineup, let's talk about the MVP of this deck. Archie's Ace in the Hole. You can play this card only when it is your last card in your hand. Put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench, then draw 5 cards. So this is going to be how we're going to be getting our Blastoise onto our bench as soon as possible without the need of Wartortle and Squirtle. This is also the way that we can get Kingdra GX on our bench without the need of Seadra and Horsey. So Archie's Ace in the Hole is a very, very good card. 2 copies of that. 1 copy of Fisherman. Put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. So it's making sure that we continue flooding the field with water energy. 1 copy of Guzma. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active with one of your bench. 1 copy of Professor Sycamore. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. And the final supporter that we're playing is 1 copy of Tate and Liza. You can choose one, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards, or switch your active with one of your bench Pokemon. So it really depends on the situation you have going on in which you would like to do anything, any changes or anything like that. Starting off, we're going to take a look at 4 copies of Battle Compressor. Search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So you're going to be sending water energies maybe, probably Blastoise, Propagation Execute, Archie, so you can use the VS Seeker, things like that. 1 copy of Computer Search, discard 2 cards from your hand, or Propagation Eggs. If you can't discard 2 cards, you can't play this card. Search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. So you can search any. So this kind of works like an Ultra Ball, but you can search pretty much anything you'd like. So you'd probably search for probably what? Depends on the situation, really. It really does depend on the situation. Probably search for. You can search for an Archie. You can search for item, supporter, energy, Pokemon, anything you'd like. So it really depends on what you got going on for you there. 2 copies of Field Blower. One big thing is Garbotoxin running around. If it shuts down Deluge, we kind of really can't do anything. So Field Blower is MVP in the way to get rid of Garbotoxin. Choose up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon Tool cards and Stadium cards in play, yours or your opponent's, and discard them. 4 copies of Order Pad. Flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for an item card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. However, you know, I'm personally not a fan of coin flip cards. However, if this goes off, you get the heads, you search your deck for Order Pad, because of Order Pad, you pretty much start your engine and start looking for what you need to get your plays going. So this is a very, very good card to have in this deck. 1 copy of Professor's Letter. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. 4 copies of Superior Energy Retrieval. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Propagation. Put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. You can't choose a card. You discard it with the effect of this card. So you can't discard a water energy and get the same energy back. I guess that's the best way of saying it. But you're not really going to be doing that. You're probably going to be discarding like Execute. And this is so you get your, like, say for example, if you have a Pokemon with a lot of energy, gets knocked out the turn before, Superior Energy Retrieval is going to help you get that energy back, so it's not necessarily wasted. 4 copies of Trainer's Mail. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Reveal a training card you find there, except Trainer's Mail. Put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So you can search, you can get the Battle Compressors, Order Pad, Superior Energy Retrieval, anything that you absolutely need to continue the plays. Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards from your hand. Propagation. If you do search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand. Probably an attacker, probably a Wailord, probably an Eevee. You know, it just really depends on what you need into your hand as soon as possible. 1 copy of Choice Band. Tackle this card. This card is attached to do 30 more damage to your opponent's active GX and EX Pokemon. 4 copies of VS Seeker, put a supporter card from the discard pile into your hand. So if you first turn get a Battle Compressor, use it to send a Archie into the discard pile, and you play your hand down, VS Seeker is the final card you have. You can VS Seeker for the Archie, Archie for Blastoise, and go from there. So it just keeps the deck moving and keeps it going. VS Seeker is very, very important. Considering we only play a handful of supporter cards anyway, what is that, 5 supporter cards in total? So yeah, VS Seeker is going to be very, very crucial in a lot of situations. And the final card we're playing is actually a Stadium, Silent Lab. Each basic Pokemon in play in each player's hand and each player's discard pile has no ability. So maybe you're playing the mirror match and you want to stop your opponent from using their propagation eggs. You can set down the Silent Lab to stop that, and you can set down Marshadow, or you can stop Marshadow or Anguru, Tapu Lele, things of that nature with Silent Lab. But this is the deck that Azul took to Greensboro Regionals and got 2nd place with. So this is pretty cool. I'm a huge fan of Blastoise, have been for the longest time. So it's really cool to see that. Guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go back and check out any of my other videos. I do a lot of shiny hunting on Pokemon Let's Go. We'll be doing a lot of stuff when Sword and Shield comes out. I do a lot of Pokemon TCG content. Make sure to check that stuff out. Hopefully you guys like the content I produce. I'll see you guys later. Peace.